Welcome back to Total F1. Through this video, we're going to discuss the outcome of the United States Grand Prix in detail. Even though Verstappen dominated the entire weekend, we can see a considerable difference in the competitiveness compared to the initial part of the 2023 season. Now, Red Bull drivers are constantly subjected to the attacks of teams like Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes, changing the flow of the game. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. All teams came to Texas with new upgrade packages with different reasons. Some teams needed to impress their American sponsors, while others needed to collect some points to improve their positions in the final standings. Most of the teams used special liveries to celebrate this great sports festival on American soil. Mercedes drivers seemed to be enjoying their upgraded W14 package, and Hamilton's best effort was strong enough to push his car into P3 in the one and only practice session of the weekend. The McLaren driver, Oscar Piastri, had a scary ride through the runoff area at the exit of Turn 9, but was lucky to save his MCL 60 without any bigger damage. Haas F1 came to their home race with a long-awaited upgrade package, and Hülkenberg was able to get the maximum use out of it by recording an impressive P5. However, Verstappen was able to beat all, continuing the dominant run of the Red Bull team. The qualifying session started on Friday evening with improved competitiveness, and it was hard to predict the starting grid of the main race for that reason. With Williams and Aston Martin, it was not a good start to the weekend, as both cars of each team appeared to be in the drop zone of the first qualifying round. Alonso was the biggest surprise of that group, as he was able to qualify into Q3 of each race held in this season prior to the United States Grand Prix. However, the Spaniard was unlucky this time and was knocked out at the end of Q1 alongside with Hülkenberg, Albon, Stroll and Sargent. Perez was in danger of being knocked out at the end of Q2 and got the ticket to the next part of qualifying by 18 thousandths of a second. This time, two more teams were knocked out alongside with the remaining Haas of Kevin Magnussen. So the drivers of AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo teams missed the Q3 as their pace was not sufficient enough to compete in the final round of qualifying. The final qualifying round started as a battle between 5 teams, as the pace of the remaining 5 teams were not sufficient enough to compete in Q1. Leclerc was the first to top the timesheets, and he had a close fight with Verstappen and Hamilton to the pole position. Perez was in a clear decline of his form, as the Mexican was not able to make an impact to the top 5. Norris was able to break into the party of the top 3 at the latter part of Q3. However, Verstappen stole the pole from the Monegasque driver in his final attempt. Unfortunately, he was found guilty of exceeding the track limits and dropped down to P5 after his lap time had been deleted. He was further beaten by Russell in the final attempt, trapping both the Red Bull in the bottom 4 of Q3. So Leclerc, Norris, Hamilton, Sainz and Russell occupied the top 5 spots of the starting grid of the main race. Remaining positions of the top were reserved by Verstappen, Gasly, Ocon, Perez and Piastri. In the sprint shootout, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Bottas, Tsunoda and Sargent were the drivers who were unable to cross the first hurdle. At the start of SQ2, Verstappen experienced a big spin close to turn 9, but he managed to limit any further damages to his RB19. It was another heartbreak for Alonso, as he was eliminated at the end of SQ2, alongside with Ricciardo, Ocon, Stroll and Zhou. SQ3 turned out to be a close battle between the top 4 teams of the current grid. First, there was a close battle between Verstappen and the Ferrari duo. Then McLaren drivers were able to separate Leclerc and Sainz, but both were beaten by Hamilton within a brief time interval. However, none of them were able to challenge Verstappen, who was in a superb run. So Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Norris and Piastri reserved the top 5 spots of the starting grid. The remaining top 10 positions were held by Sainz, Perez, Albon, Gasly and Ricciardo respectively. At the start of the sprint race, the two top drivers of the starting grid, Verstappen and Leclerc, were able to move away from the rest of the pack as one unit. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri made a slight contact with Carlos Sainz at the start. While Leclerc tried to move alongside with the Dutch driver, he pulled off his rival towards the edge of the track, close to the pit lane exit. So Leclerc lost some phase, and Hamilton used that as an opportunity to overtake the Monegasque driver to the second place. Carlos Sainz started the race as 6th, but he was able to improve his track position up to 4th with some clever moves before the end of the first lap. Perez is the other driver who was hunting down the positions and was able to overtake Piastri on lap 3 after a few failed attempts. Within the period of the next 2 laps, Piastri was beaten by both Russell and Gasly. The Australian rookie seemed to be dealing with some kind of problem after the contact that he made at the start. However, Russell was awarded a 5-second time penalty for completing the overtake of Piastri by going outside of the track, but Russell was unhappy about the decision. On lap 10, Norris made a clever move against Leclerc into the 3rd position with the help of DRS. Within a 1-lap time period, Carlos Sainz came under the attack of Sergio Perez as well, so the Mexican was able to beat the Ferrari driver without experiencing a considerable defense. Again, on lap 14, Sainz came under the attack of George Russell, so the Mercedes driver was about to overtake him with the help of DRS, but Sainz defended it very well, saving the 6th position. On lap 17, Lance Stroll was retired by his race engineer, continuing the problems of the British racing outfit. The next 2 laps passed without much change in the track positions, and in the end, Verstappen was able to add 1 more race win to his sprint race victory count. Behind Verstappen, Hamilton and Leclerc crossed the line as podium finishers. The last 2 spots of the top 5 were reserved by Lando Norris and Sergio Perez, collecting some important points for their championship standings. Sainz, Gasly and Russell occupied the last 3-point offering positions of the sprint. Actually, Russell crossed the line as 6th, but dropped to 8th after applying the 5-second time penalty that he earned while overtaking Piastri. The Sunday's Grand Prix race was started with the championship leader Max Verstappen in 6th position. Norris showed a good reaction time and got a better start to the race by beating the pole sitter Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton came close to contact with each other, but both were lucky to miss it. However, Hamilton appeared to be battling with 2 Ferraris continuously for track positions. Verstappen improved his track position up to 5th by overtaking Piastri on the 1st lap. The 2 Ferraris were also fighting against each other, and they went wheel to wheel at turn 12 on the 1st lap. On lap 3, Perez tried to overtake both Ocon and Russell through a single move with the help of DRS, but Russell defended it successfully, pushing the Mexican to the 8th position. On lap 4, Lewis Hamilton passed the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz very easily with the assistance of DRS, taking 3rd place of the race. Verstappen launched his attack against Sainz on lap 5 to claim the 5th position of the race, and the defense of the Spaniard was not sufficient to stop the 2023 Drivers' Champion. Within less than 1 lap, further changes happened in the top of the order as Lewis Hamilton was able to pass Leclerc into the 2nd position with less effort, as he was not able to do anything against this fast-moving Mercedes with DRS. Esteban Ocon made contact with Oscar Piastri on lap 7, increasing his retirement count up to 6. 3 laps later, Piastri also had to retire his car, obeying the team orders. On lap 11, Verstappen was in a position to launch his attack against Leclerc, so after going side by side several times, Verstappen completed the move, pushing himself into 3rd position. Then Verstappen decided to take a fresher set of rubber on lap 17, and 4 laps later, Hamilton also decided to take new rubber as his engineers observed a decline in his performances. Then the race went without much incident until Verstappen launched his attack against the race leader Lando Norris on lap 28. They went side by side several times, but Norris, who decided to follow a one-stop strategy in this race, understood that his rubber was too old to perform a good defense against Verstappen. Norris pitted a set of hard tires on lap 35, and 1 lap later, Verstappen also came to the pits for hards. However, the Dutchman rejoined the track as 4th, and he needed a little time to bring his hards to the temperatures before launching his attack. On lap 38, Carlos Sainz attacked Russell to gain the 5th position. The Mercedes team decided to go for a one-stop strategy in the race, and Hamilton entered the pit lane on lap 39. But it seemed to be a failed strategy, as both Verstappen and Leclerc passed him when he was in the pit lane, not allowing any opportunity to save his track positions. When Leclerc and Verstappen reached turn 1 on lap 39, Verstappen completed his overtake, taking back the lead of the race. Hamilton, who was in a recovery drive, made a successful pass against Leclerc to claim the 3rd spot of the race. Meanwhile, there was an intense battle in the midfield between Stroll and Tsunoda for the final point-offering position of the race. They went side by side several times, and at the end, Stroll made a brave move against the Japanese driver on lap 48. Hamilton was hunting the positions one by one after his failed one-stop strategy. On lap 49, the Mercedes driver passed Norris to take the second position of the race. Two Ferraris went side by side for a moment on lap 50, and Sainz appeared to be the winner of that mini battle between teammates. Since the start of the race weekend, Aston Martin drivers appeared to be struggling with issues in their challenges. In the sprint, Stroll had to retire at the latter part of the race, and this time, Alonso became the victim. He retired when there were 5 laps left to finish the race. Perez hunted down Leclerc on lap 53 to promote himself to the 5th position. Verstappen won the U.S Grand Prix in style, recording the 50th victory of his career. Hamilton and Norris finished the race as the remaining 2 podium finishers. Sainz and Perez sealed the remaining 2 spots of the top 5. Behind them, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, Stroll and Tsunoda crossed the line as point finishers of the race. However, Hamilton and Leclerc were disqualified from the race based on the outcomes of the post-race inspection. With that newest update, Sainz became a podium finisher and both the Williams drivers were able to break into the top 10. This was the first time that Sargent was able to score points in his F1 career. And that's how things unfolded at Austin. And with that, we have covered everything you need to know about the United States Grand Prix. What do you think about the penalty handed over to Hamilton and Leclerc? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.